As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show that takes a look at weird and nearly forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if they should be remembered for a little longer or tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve, one of the hosts, and with me is a man who's responsible for all the recent celebrity deaths. It's Yahel. I'm a murderer. Hi.
I mean, in one way or another, who knows?
Yeah.
There's murder afoot, Yahel, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, everyone's had their fill of meatloaf, I suppose. Actually, everyone is suddenly the biggest meatloaf fan in the world.
But you know that I was a loaf fan far before he bit the big one.
Yeah. I actually thought he was already dead. I thought for some reason that he had died like a few years ago.
Just his career.
Yeah. So I was doubly impacted.
Oh, I'm death. Sure. Yeah.
So I had to go through it twice, basically.
Did you do one of those meatloaf why like tweets or Facebook posts or?
I'm truly heartbroken about this person I never knew, and whose music I haven't heard in 10 years.
Right, and or another one where you're like, well, now Meatloaf can finally find that bat out of hell or something like that, or with Betty White.
Great. Yeah. I saw, how in that video for his "I Will Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That" song, he's has like this alien-looking prosthetic forehead makeup.
Right.
And somebody made some meme with a screenshot of him in that makeup, and it was something like, you're not a real Star Trek fan if you can't name this Cardassian.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, too bad, we're not one of those podcasts that, chases the trends, because today's episode would be all about Meatloaf, but instead, we're going after a bigger, more important trend. Of course, I'm talking about VR. We've been talking about it all month. This is episode number 4 and our exploration of virtual reality, and I guess more specific, 90s virtual reality, because that's when VR was hot, baby.
That's right.
It was everywhere.
Sexy.
Yeah, it was. Ow! Watch out.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's
my sexual orientation, VR.
Yes, please. When using pronouns, refer to me as VR Steve Honeycutt. The past episodes were all media from the 90s, and that of course is VR 5. It's right there in the title. VR Troopers, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, which does not have VR in the title, but VR was featured quite prominently in that show.
Yeah, maybe a little too prominently.
And and here, I did not know VR was ever featured on the show we are going to be talking about today. You told me about it. That's right. We're talking about the most technically advanced, cutting-edge show that was ever in American TV history, and that is Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote, the hippest show in the 1993 CBS lineup.
Oh, man, I remember when Vanilla Ice guest starred on one of the episodes, and I was like, go Murder, She Wrote, go Murder, She Wrote, go.
Oh, Jesus. Was he really in one of them?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. So Murder, She Wrote, I know usually you ask me how familiar I am with it, but we're going to flip it around this time. So even though I suggested it and I knew about this random obscure episode from season 10 of Murder, She Wrote, I'm not a Murder, She Wrote fan per se. Today was the first time I watched the whole episode of it.
Wow.
But Pushing Up Roses has a great YouTube channel, and she does a lot of Murder, She Wrote reviews that are really fun. So I feel like I'm very familiar with the Murder, She Wrote material as a result of watching somebody else tell me my opinion about Murder, She Wrote.
Great.
How familiar are you with Murder, She Wrote?
Well, this is about how familiar it goes. If you were to go back to the late 80s, early 90s. My mom and dad would probably be watching it after a long day's work, and I would probably be coming down from my room to, I don't know, bother them for some reason, and I would see that it's on, and then I would go back to do whatever it is that I was doing.
You'd be like, oh, this is too intense. Murder's in the title.
I'd be like, this isn't cartoons. Like, these guys don't have a, talking car or a cool van, like, to fight crime in. Like, I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here.
Hey, you don't need a cool car when you've got a senior citizen.
Yeah, I guess. Like, oh, man, I had so many...
This episode's befriends, like, a 16-year-old kid.
Oh, gosh. Like,
almost romantically involved. He's just a couple years older.
I loved all of his like hip 80s or 90s, because this took place in the 90s. It's
Right.
season 10 in the late, and I can't believe this show lasted. And I guess I should say I can believe this show lasted 12 seasons. I mean, I guess it was beloved, and we should talk about. The nightly or weekly mysteries were like an American pastime on American TV. They just lasted forever. And a lot of the guys that we're going to get to here in a minute worked on a lot of these American mystery shows. And I guess the American public just ate it up with a spoon, just like they do reality TV these days. Which one is better? I don't know. That's up to history to decide. But yeah, let's run the bumper, and on the other side, we'll talk more about Murder, She Wrote. So, yeah, and as I was tweeting about this show, trying to, whip up the internet in a frenzy to come and join us to chat about Murder, She Wrote in 2022, I mentioned that, Murder, She Wrote was basically every mom and every grandma's like favorite show back in like the 80s and 90s. Could you say the same about your mom and grandma? I'm just curious. So Murder, She Wrote didn't have a place in the Velasquez household?
No, because they watched mostly like Spanish language shows, so no, they didn't get into Murder, She Wrote.
Was there like a mystery solving show at all?
No, they were never really into that stuff. And I guess part of the reason is because those kind of shows also weren't, at least at the time, from what I remember, not very big in Spanish language TV, at least not the TV that we got here. So yeah, they never really got into it.
Interesting stuff. Yet
my parents were just too cool to watch Murder, She Wrote.
Yet here in the US of A, we were just captivated every week with the adventures of one Jessica Fletcher. What do you think about the theme song to Murder, She Wrote?
Oh,
man. That right off the bat, that really took me back, because I swear, as I said, every week I would hear that song, and I was like, well, Murder, She Wrote's on. Like, mom and dad are going to be busy for like an hour. And then the bell rung, and then the episode started. But anyway.
How would you describe the theme song? Like it's I don't know. It's very to me, like it doesn't say murder mystery.
No, it's very jaunty, very happy. Doesn't feel like anything bad is going to happen at all. And I also just love the opening entirely. It definitely sounds like something that Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is mocking.
Right.
Depending on which section of the theme song you're listening to, but I love that every shot in the opening is one of her. You never see any other character. And I can just feel like a producer in the background going, it's like, we need every single shot to be of Angela Lansbury, because we can't have anyone else thinking that she's not the star. Yes, Vince McMahon was producing at the time.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, Angela Lansbury was the executive producer
I saw
by
that.
season 10. So, maybe she was like, "We need more Lansbury."
Yes.
She speaks of herself in the third person.
Like if she would have lived long enough to have the special effects that we have now, she just would have been like deep faking her face on all the other actors. I assume so. I really
did. Meatloaf? Was she with Meatloaf? What happened?
Why don't you look that up real quick while I go through a little bit of the IMDb here? Okay. So yeah, Murder, She Wrote ran from 1984 to 1996. As I said before, 12 seasons. And here's the series synopsis, in case you're not familiar with Murder, She Wrote. Professional writer and amateur sleuth Jessica Fletcher uses her intellect and charm and persistence to get to the bottom of every crime she encounters. Every single one, Yahel. Every single one. And this particular episode takes place in Season 10, Episode 5, and it's called A Virtual Murder, which is why it fits into our in-depth expose on virtual reality.
Yes, indeed.
And it premiered October 31st, 1993, and I think it's safe to say that neither you or I saw this when it premiered back then.
No. As a 13-year-old child on Halloween, I did not watch the virtual reality episode of Murder, She Wrote that night.
Yeah, that's odd that they picked Halloween to premiere this, because this doesn't scream like horror or sci-fi or anything like that. Again, I can feel some out-of-touch producer. It's like, it's got computers. It's scary. Throw it in there.
But you know what? This is a show that, obviously its audience skewed older. Would they, maybe an audience that wouldn't really care for a Halloween-themed...
Sure.
I think if you're watching Murder, She Wrote, you're probably not really big into sci-fi or horror.
Oh, no. I'm surprised they have this. The way I was looking at this is this hey, we want an episode that, you can watch with your 12-year-old son. Or something like that, with the preteens. They like the video games. So here's the synopsis for the episode. Jessica happens on a computerized clue to a murder while writing a mystery story for a friend's interactive video game company. And so as for the people who are responsible for this episode, they're all...
It's not a very accurate description, I gotta say.
Blame it on IMDb, man. I'm just the voice actor here. The people responsible for this behind the camera, director Lee Smith... Surprisingly, this is all he's known for. He never worked in this town again.
Well, once you peak.
Yeah.
You peak. Yeah.
A Virtual Murder was just perfection, and he it's his Citizen Kane. Okay, but as for the writers, they are veterans of the murder mystery genre. One, Peter S. Fisher, was nominated for 3 Primetime Emmys. He's also the creator of Murder, She Wrote. He wrote on Columbo, Macmillan and Wife, and Kojak. And he's followed by Richard Levinson, who also wrote on Columbo, McCloud, and one of my favorites back when I used to watch Nick at Night as a child for some reason, Alfred Hitchcock Hour. Did you ever used to watch the Alfred Hitchcock Hour?
Yeah, I used to watch that.
You seem like the type who would.
Yeah.
And then William Link, no relation to the actual Link. He also wrote on...
From Zelda?
Yeah, exactly. He also wrote on Columbo and the Alfred Hitchcock Hour and Mannix, and the production company was Universal Television. So take it away with the cast there.
Yeah, so like every episode of Murder, She Wrote, there's a large list of guest actors. There are a few recurring characters in the Murder, She Wrote universe, the MSU.
Bravo.
If you will, but anyways, we only see one of them at the very opening, the old guy that she's talking to, who's like, oh, the future, oh, it's gonna kill me. Which in a way, I guess it is, right? Because he's like 70. The future is coming for him.
He's against video games and women voters. I just want everyone to know that. Yeah.
So, okay, we of course have the aforementioned Angela Lansbury. You know her from Murder, She Wrote and Beauty and the Beast, and a billion other things. That she's done.
AKA Garth Marenghi of Murder, She Wrote.
We've got Julia Campbell. She plays Sharon, who, well, I don't want to give anything away, but she is a character in this.
Yeah.
She's still acting. You know, a lot of these people have like pretty decent amount of credits to their name. We've got, I'm going to kind of go in a little different order here than it has on the IMDb. Give me 1 second. Okay. So we've got Rami Zeta, who plays James Lindstrom. It looks like he's semi-active, although he hasn't done anything in a while, but his acting is like very sporadic. Like he'll go a few years without something. Danny Woodburn, he is a character inside the virtual game, and he's a guy that, like, I mean, I never knew his name, but I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. He's a little person, and he was using a lot of stuff in the 90s and 2000s.
Oh, Mickey from Seinfeld. All right, I have
yeah,
that in
yeah,
my
that's
notes.
right, that's right. Yeah. We've got Richard. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, despite myself being Hispanic. Iniguez.
I'm not even going to dignify it with a chance. Yeah.
Well, anyways, he plays Sergeant Ignacio del Canto.
Oh.
And I recognize him from 2 episodes of Babylon 5.
Nice.
We've got everyone's favorite super conservative crazy person, Kevin Sorbo.
/ Hercules / Pool Boy.
Yeah, / Pool Boy. He was also in Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Gene Roddenberry, of course, the creator of Star Trek. But yeah, Kevin Sorbo's in this as Michael Burke, one of the main characters. We've got Sean Felon, who is Alex. He plays this 16-year-old kid who never did anything again after this episode. So besides that, we've got 3 more people, and I saved them till the end because, yes, Steve, they were in Star Trek.
I knew it.
We've got Kate McNeil. She plays a character named Kate Walden. We've got Phil Morris. He plays David Salt. I should say Kate was in 1 episode of Star Trek Enterprise. Phil Morris was in the original series as a kid.
Wow.
He was in 2 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He was in Star Trek 3, and he was also in Star Trek Voyager.
Wow.
Yeah, so that guy's literally been in every series except for The Next Generation, basically. Alan Miller, he played a background alien in Star Trek 3, and that brings us to the conclusion of the cast.
All right, here it comes.
Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection!
All right. Let me get back. All right, so... Whew. Okay, you ready to jump into this show?
Just about. Steve, did you want to know what was hot at the time in October of...
Well, aside from VR and, of course, Angela Lansbury.
By the way, she's still alive, 96 years old.
Wow, good for her.
Yeah. So in at the end of October, I'm not even going to have you try to guess what song this is. It's the #1 song because I don't even remember this song.
Okay.
Do you remember a song called Just Kickin' It by Xscape?
I remember that name, but I don't remember the song at all.
Yeah.
I just remember...
The letter X followed by Scape.
That's it. Just
Real
that
cool.
ridiculous name. Because, you know, X's were so cool back then.
Yeah. Well, anyways, they had the #1 song the final week of October of 1993 when this aired. And the #1 film in the country was Demolition Man.
Oh, nice. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. It's a fun movie.
You better believe it.
All right, but yeah, let's get into this.
All right. Well, the show... What, you want to fight, buddy?
No,
All right.
I almost said let's get into Angela.
Oh, whoa. This really turned into a different show.
And then I
here.
stopped myself. I realized what it sounded like.
All right. Well, the show starts out with a teaser, just like Yahel's teasing us over here with his diseased mind, with basically Angela Lansbury telling us what's to expect on this riveting episode of Murder, She Wrote. And then the aforementioned theme starts, and it really took me back to the 80s. And then basically we are transported to a day shot of Boston. And Jessica, who is Angela Lansbury's character. I'll try to refer to her as her character's name.
Yes, please do. She's Jessica Walter now.
I thought it's Fletcher, Jessica Fletcher.
Oh, Fletcher, yes. Jessica Walter. She was in Arrested Development. Sorry.
She explains to I just have him as elderly old man that she wrote a VR game. He's against it because he just doesn't understand it. And she basically explains pretty well how VR works and how she's flying out to Silicon Valley to test it. And she then explains that it's called a killing at Hastings Rock. We get some stock footage of an airplane taking off, and then boom, we're in Silicon Valley. Then we are treated to the most hilarious scene ever, and that is Hercules dressed as a computer nerd looking at Angela Lansbury wearing VR gear, which is basically, that's what enticed us into doing this episode to begin with, I'd say.
Yeah, and her VR headset, you've got some pictures of it, is like, I don't know, man. It's both better and worse than I expected it to look.
Mm-hmm.
And the gloves are kind of similar to the design of the what was called the Data Glove, which later became the inspiration for the Nintendo Power Glove, by the way.
Right.
But yeah, this is like a VR thing that NASA was using at the JPL labs. And it looks to me like that's kind of what they based the look of the gloves off, at the very least.
Yeah, I felt like the gloves were, I mean, they felt kind of accurate as to what you would wear if you went to Disney Quest. I mean, obviously those, the glasses were way too small as to what was going on.
Even for now, they'd be way too small.
Right. I mean, the Oculus Quest is way thicker than what she's wearing. But, I mean, Angela Lansbury, she's not going to play with something that, is weighing like anything over 3 pounds. She's not going to put up with it. She's just not.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to cover that face either.
Of course not. I'm surprised she put up with what they gave her. I mean, but anyway, she's trying out the game. We see inside the game, and I love the look of it. It looks like a Tom Zito Sega CD FMV game.
It's very pixelated.
Yeah, just like with VR5, they have their own version of how they decided to shoot what VR is supposed to look like. It's not polygons in the slightest, because that would have been too expensive. They basically just shot a regular scene and then put a mosaic filter on top of everything, I think is what they did. And they called it VR. So
and it's weird because when she's playing the game, it's got like points for the player in like the one of the corners, and it's, randomly it would just like accrue points.
Yeah, just for like walking. Yeah. Yeah,
like, oh great, you walked. Oh, you talked to a person. Here's 5,000 points. It was. I mean, I guess I get what they were going for, but kind of stupid.
Yo, definitely stupid. Yeah. So yeah, it looks just like you would think it would as a murder mystery kind of, I don't know,
like an FMV game.
Yeah, VR game. It's got a fancy party. Everyone's dressed up in their finery. There's a creepy looking butler. Everything is shot from the player's perspective, so it's like a first person shooter, only without the shooting, obviously. So Jessica's playing, and she just loves everything. I mean, that's one thing about it. She's like good natured just about everything. Even when she later like interrogates the PI when we get to it, she's just so good natured about everything. Like anyway,
that's that charm.
That
they were talking about in the series description.
Right. And then she gets to this female server, and she repeats herself, and it glitches out. Everybody freaks out, including this money guy named David. And like there's a group of people watching him, and it's like Kevin Sorbo and his programmers basically, and we'll get to their names later. Hopefully I wrote them down. And he tells the money guy, David, to relax. The server glitches again, and they realize they have a big problem. They stop the game, and that does not sit well with David, the money guy. Out of nowhere, a robot voice. This is so weird when this stuff starts kicking in. Out of nowhere, a robot voice says, "Alex Fletcher, please return your mother's call." And I think we need to mention that that Alex, the little kid, is How is he related to Jessica again? Like a nephew or something?
Oh, I didn't think he was related to her.
No, yeah, because at the beginning of the show, that's how she got wrapped up into this whole thing.
Wow, I actually missed that. I just assumed because, her whole thing is that she's a famous, murder mystery author. So I just thought that's why they had hired her.
Right. I mean, but it's also part of how she got wrapped. And that's why they have the same last name, because his name is Alex Fletcher and her name is Jessica Fletcher. But it's really not that important. Anyway, so one of the other programmers picks up his hot pink pager and hands it to him, and tells him that he left his pager again. And that just begs the question: did you ever have a hot pink pager back in the '90s, Yahel?
I didn't have a hot pink one, but I did have like a purple one that was like a purple see-through-ish kind of case. But
well, how else are you
so
going to
these
deal your
pagers-
drugs? I mean, am I right?
Right. So these pagers, they don't beep, they don't vibrate, they announce
Right,
to
right.
you who has called you. So, and I get it, it's for the audience, right? Because we can't see the screen of a pager. But yeah, every time somebody gets a page, it's just basically this loud announcement that so I guess comes from their pager telling them who to call.
Yeah, and they really sort of embellish like a lot of the, I guess, computer, cybery aspects of the stuff here. He then puts a code into what I have written down here is like almost like a Star Trek style pod to let Jessica out of the VR room. It's like, why would you even need, and the doors go, they're like automatic sliding doors, and it's just, to make the elderly at home feel like impressed or whatever, I guess.
Right. This is the future.
Yeah, the set
Look at all
design.
this technology.
Exactly, because that's how things are in Silicon Valley. It's, anyway, Alex tells Jessica the bug should have never happened, and then a voice on an intercom tells Alex to please return his mother's call. And I'm just like, poor boy. I'm like, leave this boy alone. Let Alex live his life. Come on, man. Kevin Sorbo, and I'll try to refer to him as Michael, he tears into his programmers, tells them to fix it. Tells Jessica they have to reprogram the servant girl because but doing that might cause even more problems. They argue, and Jessica offers to write the servant girl out of it and says she's going to fix everything just with a mere swipe of her pen. Now, just judging by the initial, I guess neither of us are like, programmers, but hearing how they like talk and interact, like, does it feels like, the writers like did their research, I guess, with the sort of basic programming talk, just a little bit, maybe. No,
I would say no. I would say no. Like talking about like, oh, there's going to be a cascade failure if we, fix this one bug or whatever. Like that's just not.
So maybe it's more like they just they got someone's like a manual of like hacker terms and just sort of wrote them in so they can make themselves sound smart.
Like they use source code incorrectly several times throughout it. Like at one point, first they use it correctly to like kind of talk about how the source code, it's like what the game is built off of and blah, 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 blah. But then later on they talk about how the source code is like Kevin Sorbo's character says, oh, it's like the operating system. And well, no, it's not the operating system. Hey, Alex, he said this ain't no Star Trek. No, this is the very real world.
Right. Well, that's how things were back then, Yahel. Don't you remember? So then we cut to one of the guys amongst Kevin Sorbo's crew was this guy named Lindstrom. I guess you could say he's like the Steve Jobs to Sorbo being the Bill Gates of the group in a way, loosely.
I guess.
And he's driving away from work, and this detective takes photos of him. And then we cut to an interior shot of Jessica's hotel. She's writing, and for some reason, Alex had to come with her. So he's pacing back and forth. Alex says this never should have happened because he's so cool. He designed a program to test the game at high speeds, but that Lindstrom guy wouldn't give him the source code because he's just too paranoid.
So here's another great example of source code being used incorrectly. So Alex is saying, I wrote a program. This is going to be confusing with Alex in the chat. But so he's saying, I wrote a program to test this game, but I need his source code to implement it. Well, did you write the program or not? Like, so, but whatever.
Right. And so cut to, we're back at the computer lab, and the name of their company is Marathon. So we're at the Marathon computer lab, and Michael Burke, a.k.a. Kevin Sorbo, and Sharon, his brunette lady, revealed that they were... It's weird. They talked like they were once romantically involved, but then they almost kiss because they still sort of are. They basically revealed that they kind of did and sort of do have feelings for each other, although they're interrupted by blonde HR lady whose name I don't have written here at the moment.
I think that was Kate.
Kate, yeah, there you go.
So then Sharon is clearly still into Kevin Sorbo's character, and it seems like they're not together anymore, even though there's still something there.
Right, exactly. And so now cut to we're back with the detective again, and he stalks David, the money guy from the beginning. He's walking into this nice looking building, and then we are inside that building, and we are with David, the money guy, Lindstrom, and some shady guy who we later find out is the head of a rival software company. And they're basically having a meeting, and basically the shady guy is trying to recruit Lindstrom. He says no. David suggests, and then he storms off, basically. David suggests that giving the source code to the shady guy instead. And also what's important here is that the shady guy says that he's involved with some people. Basically, he says he's involved with dangerous people, and it's out of his hands what may or may not happen to Lindstrom since he turned him down. So cut to, we're back at the Marathon computer lab. Michael Burke finds he's going through Lindstrom's desk looking for the source codes. Why would you keep him in a desk? That's pretty stupid.
Well, more importantly, when he's looking through his desk and his stuff, he pulls out a gun that this guy, I guess, just keeps at work.
Right. Oh, yeah. I was about to mention that. Yeah. I mean, that was his motivation to go through the desk was to look for source code. I mean, why would they not be at a computer? Again, this is the writers not understanding.
Yeah. Well, I actually do get why, and it makes sense within the story, in my opinion, because they do make a big deal that he's got the source code on this 3.5-inch floppy that he keeps on.
Right. Okay.
Usually, so he's looking for the floppy. Is what I think it's supposed to be.
Right. Okay. So he finds this tiny little Derringer, the most unthreatening gun.
Like a gold gun.
Yeah, this is like such a stark difference to. I just remember occasionally watching episodes of like Miami Vice when everyone had Uzis and stuff, but that's a different show. Anyway,
and they do like, is it just me or did they not do like an awkward, extra long close up of the gun, of him holding the gun?
Oh,
as he was moving it, like just to like, hey, did you see this gun?
Oh, they had to make sure Grandma and Grandpa saw that gun, no matter what, no matter how bad their eyesight might have been.
Yeah.
So time lapse a bit. They have fixed the game. They're ready for a final run through. They have an interesting little debate here between Lindstrom and Jessica about chaos and control. And Jessica is all about chaos because I bet she goes home and listens to the Sex Pistols. She's one hardcore bitch. What did you think about that chat?
I don't know. It was okay, I guess. It's just I guess they're just trying to establish the Lindstrom character a bit more, but it did feel like a very forced conversation that would not happen in real life.
No, yeah, and at the same time, I think it was just like, oh, look at this, look at Jessica Fletcher like matching wits with the big time city boy, the guy, the big time Silicon computer guy. I mean, yeah, of course, just like nobody could ever match wits with one Garth Marenghi. No one can match wits with one Jessica Fletcher. So Jessica plays the game again, And then while I was watching this, I was like, you'd think they'd have like a real, one of the programmers test the game, or like an actual game tester. But, for the sense of the story, I mean, we just have to go with it, right? I mean, and I guess she's also giving her opinion about what she thinks about the game. So I guess it kind of works. And then this is when I saw Mickey, the little person from Seinfeld, and I got excited for that. Because, of course, like, this was the era of, let's make it weird. Let's put a little person in it.
Yeah.
Classic trope. Anyway, so for some reason now there's a door that won't open within the game, and Jessica wants it gone. And they say they'll fix it after the press reception, which the next scene, we are now at the press reception. And Michael gets a call from the detective, and
private investigator he hired.
Yeah. I mean, private detective.
It was.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we don't mix it up with the actual detective that shows up later.
Yeah, sure. The private investigator. And then we're now revealed that it was Kevin Sorbo / Michael Burke who hired him the whole time to look into the other guy. What was his name? Yeah. And he tells him that there's more problems, but he won't tell him what those problems are without more money. And he hangs up. And then Michael Burke confronts Lindstrom about his meeting with the shady guy. And then the shady guy shows up at the press party. Then they start opening up VR booths to let people in to play, like the HR lady. I'm sorry, what was her name again?
Kate. But before that, Michael goes to the competitor that's like trying to like hire Lindstrom. Mm-hmm. His name is like Crowley, I think, like that.
That's it. Yeah.
Michael goes to him and is like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Where'd you get this pass, to get in here?" Like his little badge to be. He's like, "Oh, I don't know." It was like a really weird scene. The guy's like, "Oh, I just don't remember." And then if you could be drunk watching this episode by just taking a shot every time somebody says it's not illegal to do this. I didn't, this thing I did isn't like, it's a very common thing, but yeah, he's like, it's not illegal to keep an eye on your competition, is it? And then Michael's like, takes his pass, and it's like, you get out of here before I have security kick you out. So, but he's really pissed. So they're trying to establish that he's pissed at Lindstrom and pissed at Crowley for whatever it is that they're doing.
Right. So he confronts the guy, and all right, so they start opening up the VR booths to let people to let the press in to play, to look at everything, and one door won't open. And I knew this was going to happen because, like, I swear, every single episode of Murder, She Wrote is pretty much the same. Then they finally get the door to open, and lo and behold, it's a dead body, and it's Lindstrom. Oh my goodness.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, exactly. They might as well have played that music. So now the police show up, and they're investigating, and Michael Burke tells the cops he thinks it's John Crowley, a.k.a. the guy who I've been calling the shady guy the whole time. See, I got his name eventually. And then I wrote down that they made a Star Trek reference here, something about the head cop who's investigating all this refers to Silicon Valley as the Valley of the Klingons. Ooh,
yeah,
that was for you. That was for you people.
Yeah, that was
Yahel.
for me. Yeah.
You Star Trek fans, that is.
So I didn't get that. Like, it makes no sense as a comment, but also, like, was he saying that, like, because Klingons are like warriors, they're like a big tough warrior race. All they care about is honor and fighting. So what's the I don't know.
I think that it's obvious that the guys who wrote this, they were at a little advanced age when they wrote this, so they were just like, let's just reference the Star Trek fans. I mean,
1993, Star Trek: The Next Generation, it's at its height of its popularity. So.
That's true, but they were just like, what's in Star Trek? Klingons. Okay, let's reference it.
Yeah.
And that's about as far as it went.
Yeah. I guess they're just trying to call those Silicon Valley guys nerds, basically.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So the sergeant then goes and questions Crowley. But before that, the sergeant gives this like tough monologue about being a police chief or sergeant in Silicon Valley. And it's like this hard-boiled, like, noir monologue. And it's like, you work in Silicon Valley, man. It was laughable. And he was like, that actor, he was dead serious about it. It was hilarious. I was just like, is this a joke? And it was just like, is it the director telling him to be serious, or was it a choice by the actor? Like, it was,
you know, like you said, his delivery is super serious, but what he's talking about, the crimes he's been investigating, they're like nothing. He's like just talking about how, like, you know, usually these guys in Silicon Valley, I show up and they've attacked each other with spinach salads. Like, what?
I know. It was so funny. This was the highlight of the episode for me, actually. But that'd be like, let me tell you what it's like being a weatherman in Hawaii. Like, it's like every day all I do is report about how sunny it is. Like, it's hilarious. They must have known what they were doing, but who knows? Who knows? So anyway, yeah, they go in, they question Crowley, and he's all, as you were saying, "Ooh, it's not illegal to do this," and I'm, your typical, question dodging, shady guy. Then we go back to Marathon, and the sergeant shows up and ends up arresting Michael Burke because his fingerprints were on the gun. I guess we forgot to mention that while Kevin Sorbo, a.k.a. Michael Burke, was going through Lindstrom's desk, he did pick up the gun.
Yeah, that's when they kind of did the close-up. Like,
right.
He's touching this. He's touching it.
Yeah, there you go. So now we're back at...
you know what's weird? Michael says nothing.
Yeah.
Like, they arrest him. He doesn't say, no, you don't understand. I was going through his desk.
Right, yeah, he just goes along with, Kevin Sorbo, he knew he was innocent, I guess.
Yeah, wouldn't there be, like, residual gunpowder on him and that kind of stuff that they test for? Like, so it's real weird. But anyways,
right.
Yeah, Kevin Sorbo's out of here.
Yeah. Back at Marathon, Jessica asks the HR lady to search for the PI by the name Porter because she heard the name Porter. Someone mentioned it somewhere. Jessica then goes and talks to Porter, the PI, threatens him with extortion unless he tells him what he was going to tell Michael Burke. And this is
basically she extorts him by telling him, I know that you extort people. So I am now going to extort you to tell me this information, or I will reveal who you really are.
Right, and this is where the show at least kind of breaks apart for me because, it could just be, what's to stop him from just going, yeah, just murdering her and walking away? Obviously,
yeah, but this guy's not a killer.
Right. But she's gone through how many murders at this point, and everyone just happened to be a not that bad of a guy to where they wouldn't just haul off and punch her in the face.
Fair enough, but she knows that this guy is not the killer.
Right. Right. Well, I guess she's just been very lucky. It's the luck.
She's just so charming.
Right. You could never punch that face. You just never could.
No.
So yeah. So then Jessica goes back to talk to the money guy from before. Paul, I believe his name was.
Dan, I think.
And basically asks him what was going along. I lost my space and
so she finds his name is David. He's kind of like
David.
We never get really clear descriptions of what exactly everyone's role at this company is, with the exception of Lindstrom.
Mm-hmm.
But David seems to kind of be like the boss and kind of running the company, and they don't have any more money. What's the big thing? But as we see him packing stuff away in his trunk,
I just assumed he was the accountant.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's never explicitly said. Yeah. But anyway, he's skipping town, basically, and she's trying to get information from him. Then in the next scene, the HR lady, Kate, is firing Sharon, says that she can do it because while Michael Burke is in prison, she's running the company. And then Jessica and Alex then attempt to... Oh, the important thing that happened while Jessica was talking to David was that as he was leaving, he mentioned something about opening a door. And she goes, yes, a door. opening.
Yeah, he says something like, because she's asking him about Lindstrom, what kind of person he was, and he comes up with a real crazy theory where he's like, I don't know, maybe he was suicidal. He like paid an assassin to kill him. Like,
Right.
and even Jessica's like, well, that seems kind of stupid.
Right.
But then he says, yeah, if you could open a door into Lindstrom's mind, you would see that nothing is out of the realm of possibility.
Right,
and that's when she's like, a door? There was a locked door in the game.
Right, and then that's basically exactly kind of what happens. That gets her the idea to go back into the game with Alex. They then go They then go into the game, but they have to get past a password. And old Alex, we find out that he, at the age of 11, hacked into the New York Stock Exchange. And I guess that's supposed to raise our expectation that he's going to be able to crack this password, no problem. But he can't. And then, but hey, no problem, because Jessica Fletcher, using the powers of logic and deduction, she figures it out, no problem.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then so basically they go in. They're back in the game again. They go find the door, and inside is this, I guess, weird FMV version of Lindstrom. Asking
on like a cloud on the Windows 95 background.
Yeah, I remember. This is a little off topic. Like when we got I think it was like our second computer. There was like this welcome disc that came with it that was hosted by the guy who plays Q, and
John Delancey.
Yeah, and the whole thing just reminded me of that, because he was just like, it was just like miniature version of him. He was like, hello, let me introduce you to the Pentium, 450. Let me show you what it can do, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, for some reason, this reminded me of that. And so I'm kind of, so that gives him the idea that I'm kind of confused about what happened. So there's a riddle here, but then there isn't inside the game. Is that what happens? And then they make up a riddle to call out the killer. Isn't that sort of what happens?
Yeah, Lindstrom had left a weird riddle, and basically she thought it was something important or whatever. But yeah, he just left this riddle in the computer.
Right. Yeah. So really, it's not anything important. So now we're back in the real world, in the lab or whatever. And I have written here in my notes, in the background, there's this ridiculous looking neon laser thing. Did you notice it?
Yeah.
it just made me laugh because it was just there, just because it looks futuristic and stupid.
Right.
Very synthwave. I liked it a lot, actually.
True.
Anyway. Alex calls his mom, and then there's the whole, they call attention to the whole beeper/pager thing. And I think that's the thing that triggers Jessica, because then they bring it up later. I have it written down here.
Sharon brings up, once the detective got there, and they're trying to piece together some information, that she had heard a page that Lindstrom received.
Right. So Alex calls his mom. Jessica calls someone and asks about the riddle. Jessica then asks Alex to come up with a riddle. And then we're in Marathon after hours. The riddle they tell Sharon that the riddle means there's a fatal virus inside the game. Sharon then admits to David that she was the one who killed Lindstrom, and
Sharon shows up with the source code disk.
Right. She says that she has it.
Yeah, and David was like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "Well, there's this virus. I've got the source code disk, so I'm going to whatever." And then I think David then says, "You killed Lindstrom," because obviously that's why she has the disk with the source code.
Right. She says she wanted to save Michael from Lindstrom because he was gonna, I guess, sell out the company to the Crowley. But then right before David can do anything, the cops make themselves, they were hidden in shadow.
Yeah.
They show up.
Oh, and then she pulled out a gun and said she was going to kill David next, too,
Right.
after she fixed the virus.
Right. They then admit that Alex made up the riddle. It was a distraction. Then they say that the paging system is what is what tipped Jessica Fletcher off, because she couldn't have heard a page. I don't know.
So basically, the whole thing is that she wouldn't have heard that page unless she was near Lindstrom.
Right.
She got him, and because no one else was around to hear it, she figures, oh, you were alone with him.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's it.
So that's how she puts her at the scene of the crime.
Mm-hmm. So, and then that is basically it. And yeah.
Sharon admits to everything, as these people on Murder, She Wrote are wont to do.
Yep. There's no action scene at the end. Everyone just everything's wrapped up in a nice, neat little package. Yeah. And
isn't it weird that we never see Michael again after he's cleared?
Yeah, I feel like in these episodes there's usually a little like a coda or something.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Like maybe they ran out of time. Yeah, they never brought back Kevin Sorbo to like patch things up with. Oh wait,
maybe Kevin Sorbo just wouldn't shut up about God not being dead yet, and they were like, "Don't bring it."
This is pre-wacky Kevin Sorbo. He was still normal at this point. But yeah, and that's that. So anything else left to say before we render our verdict about Murder, She Wrote, A Virtual Murder?
No, I don't think there's much more to say about it, right? I think we pretty much covered the whole show.
Yeah, all right. Here comes a bumper. All right, Yahel Velasquez. Do you think this particular episode of Murder, She Wrote, because I don't even think we have the power to wipe out 12 seasons of Murder, She Wrote. I don't think we have the power to banish them to the black hole of obscurity. Do you think it should be remembered for a little bit longer, or tossed in the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again?
I gotta say, like, this episode, it was overall it was enjoyable. I would say should be remembered just for like how kind of like ridiculous it is in its portrayal of VR. So I'm gonna give it a yes, actually.
Well, I don't think it was ridiculous enough.
Fair, I can see that too.
Yeah, like I mean, from the images that like you sent me, like when I saw her like wearing that VR outfit, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be hilarious. And really, it was just another episode of Murder, She Wrote, really. And I mean, I know it was a different time, but like so little happened. And I actually found myself pretty bored pretty fast after I got past like a lot of the nostalgia aspects about it. So I'm going to have to go with a no, which leaves us at a stalemate, which I feel like this definitely deserves a stalemate. I mean, I'm glad we're not destroying it completely. So here comes a stalemate.
This is the pathetic podcast. Obscurity Now once again rendered a verdict of no contest. That's right, a stalemate. They've wasted everyone's time. They are just as lazy as Congress is twice as rough. Boo, I say, tar and feather, get out the guillotine. Boo to the stalemate, and boo to Obscurity Now.
Well, I hope not. That was just a joke, everyone, where we enjoyed self-deprecating humor here at Obscurity Now, and I hope you do too. I mean, if you've lasted this long, then I'll assume that you do.
Yeah.
But wow. So do you ever think you'll watch another episode of Murder, She Wrote in your entire life?
Nah, probably not. I mean, I'll just keep watching the little video reviews that Push It Up Roses does on it.
Well, I think that's interesting that you watch the YouTube of content of a show that you don't actually watch. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with that. I just think it's interesting. That's all.
Well, it takes less time, and usually has like some pretty funny quips and observations about Murder, She Wrote. And
I bet it's funnier than the actual episode.
Well, yes. But yeah, and she'll like drop in some background info on some of the production and that kind of stuff. So it's just a more interesting watch because I'm not 65 years old, so Murder, She Wrote doesn't speak to me that much. As
right. I wonder if my mom will watch or listen to this episode of us. Yeah, probably not. But hey, we tried. All right. Well, hey, make sure you like and subscribe and share us with all your friends. And if you're not a Murder, She Wrote fan, then we'll be talking about something else completely different next time. In fact, we'll actually be talking about The Lawnmower Man, the granddaddy of all VR movies. At least we think so. So make sure you join us next week as we continue to discuss even more obscure media. Only on Obscurity Now.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links. If that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.